Hello, welcome to the latest in our series of vlogs on topics for people operating wire ropes. In this session we're going to cover the operation of wire rope in specifically harsh cold conditions. Here to discuss this with me is Owen Ketteringham, one of our application specialists. Hi Owen.
Hi Pete.
Hello there. Owen has been involved with wire rope for 30 odd years. He's based out of our head office in Doncaster, and he operates or has specialist knowledge in three of our sectors: oil and gas, crane and industrial, and fishing. So the first question: what are the effects of low temperature on wire rope operation?
Well, Pete, when we're operating ropes in low temperatures, we need to consider sort of what temperature they're going to get down to. So temperatures down to about -40, we know from experience and from testing that we don't have any issues with ropes in those conditions, particularly when we're looking at sort of breaking load with that. If we do get below -40, then potentially we are going to see a reduction in breaking load of the rope. We'd obviously give you some advice around that if you were operating at those low temperatures. But yeah, up to sort of, or down to, should I say, down to -40, we've got things to consider around the lubrication of the rope, how the rope is being used as well, and what's obviously the application with those temperatures.
I mean, I assume like anything in ultra cold conditions, the things become brittle, and that's one of the things that you have to consider with the application of the rope. Or more brittle.
Yeah, potentially that's what's happening. You're seeing a change in the steel because of those low temperatures. So you'd be looking at taking some precautions around those. So things like not shock loading the rope, taking the load quite slowly. So you're applying the load slowly, so you're not suddenly putting the load on there. We're also looking at things around the sort of lubrication that's on the rope, which might start to freeze up. So we might be looking at from a specification point of view. Do we need to have a certain lubricant for those? Because we do have a range of lubricants that have wider temperature ranges than just the standard ones.
That's great, thank you, Owen. I noticed, for example, with this picture, there's ice on the rope. You know, what sort of does that make a difference? How should you treat that in this instance?
Well, it can cause some issues, obviously, if you've got lubricant that, as in this case, is going hard on the rope, then potentially it's going to become a dropped object, which could cause some issues. So we have to be careful with that. We certainly don't want to go and start trying to chip it off the rope as well, because that could then start to damage the wires in the rope and cause us stress raises, which would then lead to a loss of breaking load of the rope. So maybe be applying a lubricant over the top of that to try and just soften up what's already on there. With the rope. But as I say, we would try to look at things like if we knew you'd got an application where we'd got cold temperatures, we would try to probably put a lubricant on that would go down to that lower temperature range.
That's great, thanks Owen. The other thing to mention, I mean, you've mentioned lubrication already. Ropes obviously are not just made up of metal. How does the cold temperature affect, you know, maybe if you've got a fibre or a plastic in the rope, how does the temperature affect those?
It's very similar to the steel. You're going to see some sort of hardening of the plastic or a fibre, which then could lead to that becoming brittle as well, and then sort of breaking. So we can look at things like changing the polymers in the ropes to give them a wider temperature range. We do have one that's called the Brystar Polar, which is designed for sort of drill lines and maybe crane ropes, where we're looking at using them in these lower temperatures. And that would again work better at sort of -40 than the standard would do. The other thing which you haven't mentioned as well is the end terminations of the rope. We need to be aware of what sort of temperatures that they can operate at, because some of them don't like to go down to the -40s as the steel rope would do. So that's certainly a consideration as well. And again, at the specification stage of the rope decision making, we would look at that and try to help with what termination should be used.
I think that leads me on nicely to my next point. It sounds like if you're operating in harsh conditions, whatever they are, the key thing here is to make sure you take that into consideration when you're ordering the rope.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, come and talk to us. We can make some recommendations. As I've said, -40, we sort of say, yeah, you're okay down to there, but you need to take some precautions even at -40. If you're getting below that, then we need to look and start to see, well, what sort of reduction would we get with the rope, and we could take advice. I can go to sort of the really technical people within Bryden and get them to give us some advice as well.
That's great. Thank you very much, Owen. I think we've covered off everything that we need to in terms of cold weather operation of wire rope. There's also a bulletin that supports this presentation, so if you'd like to read more about cold weather operation, please use the email address on the screen at this moment in time to request a bulletin. You can also contact our applications team on this address. So any queries, or if you'd like to read more, use the email address on the screen. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching our bulletin. I hope that it has proved useful in your day-to-day operation of wire rope. Thank you.